You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's largest mortgage lender. Spring will be here soon, so if buying a new home is on your to-do list, right now is the time to call Quicken Loans. Learn about which mortgage options make sense for you and get a jump on your competition. With our exclusive Rate Shield approval, the low rate you lock today is protected for up to 90 days while you shop for your new home. With a Rate Shield approval, if rates go up, your low rate stays locked. But if rates go down, you get that new, even lower rate. Either way, you win. Talk to us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com to take advantage. Here's another great reason to work with us. For a record 9 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Again, to lock in today's low mortgage interest rate and get the security of our exclusive Rate Shield approval, call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Hi, welcome to this Subway ad for the new Sesame Ginger Glazed Chicken Signature Wrap. How would you like it?
I'll take a...
Sports announcer at home?
Yeah, how'd you...
We just know.
My wife picks up the new Signature Wrap. It's got double the rotisserie-style chicken mixed with a sesame ginger glaze. She appears annoyed at me, but she shrugs it off. Those sweet and savory flavors are calling her name. She lifts the wrap and she takes the bite! Incredible! And now she's closing the door on my... Subway, make it what you want.
Limited time only at participating restaurants. Double meat based on average 6-inch sub.
I'm little teapot, short and stout.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
No, Dad, like this. When I get all steamed up, then I shout, tip me over and pour me out.
This is WWE superstar Roman Reigns. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Welcome to CIRCUMSPICE, the right side of Michigan. All things Michigan from a conservative point of view. It must be Sunday night. It must be October 18th. It must be 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I must be Alan Ray. This is CIRCUMSPICE, the right side of Michigan. Hey, how you doing? Guess what? Hell's freezing over. Why? Detroit Lions actually won a football game today. They didn't just win it. They won it decisively, 34-16 over the Jacksonville Jaguars. Their best player on the team for many years, Matt Stafford, had a lackluster day, but he didn't need to have a good day because everybody else stepped up and actually played football. Guys, this is 2020, and things just get weirder and weirder and weirder.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?
Let's get this show kicked off, shall we? Yep, rookie running back DeAndre Swift was one of the big heroes of the day, ripping a 54-yard run on the very first touch of the football and never looking back. He finished with 116 yards on just 14 carries, an average of 8.3 yards per carry. He also scored 2 touchdowns. Wow. And he didn't really play a whole lot. He just came off of hip surgery. He had really bad problems. Of course, against Chicago, he dropped a game-winning pass, and he, earned the ire of a lot of Detroit Lions fans. I want the Detroit Lions. Don't get me wrong. I want the Detroit Lions to do great. I want them always to have a great season. But rooting for the Detroit Lions is an effort in futility. It really is, because I've got a thing that I say about them, but I'm not really going to say it on here because it could be taken wrong and I'll get letters, and I'm not going to do that. And right, Orty, you're exactly right. Lions winning football was not on our 2020 bingo card, but yet here they are. Of course, don't get your hopes up. Don't get all crazy, because Jacksonville Jaguars is one of those teams that's actually a little bit worse than the Lions. So I didn't watch a single minute of it. I was either outside walking the dog or in a pasta coma because I had way too much pasta for lunch today. And my wife and I, my lovely wife and I, enjoyed lunch with our preacher and his wife, who are the preacher in our church. He's sort of new, been there a couple of years now, but he's actually a graduate of the college that I went to in 84, 85, Lipscomb University. And it's kind of funny because we got a lot. His wife graduated from there too. And it's kind of funny because we tell inside jokes that you have to actually be on campus to get, and my wife will just look around like, okay, I don't get it. So they're kind of cool people. We had a good time. It's been a great day. Typical fall day in Michigan. The colors are changing. It's chilly. It's beautiful. Yesterday, I ran 13.5 miles on the Kiwanis Trail, getting ready for the big half marathon I'm doing next week. My legs feel great today. So Ava Doggo and I, which she is in the studio with me tonight, we went for a good walk today, got out there in the fresh air, and I came back and fell asleep again. So I've pretty much ate and slept all day today. So I'll be up all night, but hey, that's okay. I'm good. Other football news coming up Saturday. Michigan football season opener against Minnesota is going to kick off at 7:30 p.m. October 24th in Minneapolis. I predict, I may be wrong, I hope I'm wrong, I predict this is going to look like a Pop Warner football game. and if you've ever had little boys that play Pop Warner football, like the 5 and 6, 7-year-olds, basically it's controlled chaos. It starts out looking so good when they get to the line of scrimmage, and the second the ball is snapped, it just turns into a giant pile of these huge helmets on little bitty bodies, piling on each other. That's all it basically is. I predict that's what this is going to look like. Will U of M win? I don't know. I mean, they've been practicing. I know they've been practicing to compensate for crowd noise because I work right in the shadows of the big house. So who knows what's going to happen? It should be interesting. I may just have to sit and watch that just because, it may be some severely entertaining stuff. I don't know. Welcome to Circumspice, the right side of Michigan. All things Michigan from a conservative point of view. I am your humble host, Alan Ray, coming to you live from the cornfields of southeastern Michigan. The beans are gone. The beans have been taken up. We are over the bean thing right now. The corn is still standing, but they're just starting to take that down out here in the middle of nowhere. God's country. Beautiful weather. If you dare venture to Michigan right now, the colors are starting to peak in this part of it. They may have already peaked up north of here, but I'm telling you right now, I ran 13.5 miles yesterday, just a nice little jog, pacing, in about 11 minutes a mile. And it's the place I run is like a tunnel of trees. And it was like I was on a different planet. The oranges, the reds, the greens, just all of these cool colors. And of course, all the animals were out scurrying around, getting ready for winter. So, you had to, every 10 feet you had to watch because you'd get taken out by a squirrel. Squirrels are evil. Michigan squirrels are evil. They plot to kill you. I'm not even lying. They're all cute and everything, but they will run right out in front of you and try to trip you up and send you spiraling into the river or something like that. They are evil little monsters. That's why I don't feel bad about hunting them. And let's get that straight. I'm going on the record. So what's going on in the great state of Michigan? Well, we'll swing around the edges and get a little friendly stuff going before we get into the meat of the show. Because the meat of the show is actually going to get a little bit crazy. We're going to talk Brainiac stuff. And if you're not from Michigan, you may not appreciate what I'm going to talk about later on in the show, but you may, because it may be coming to things near you. It might be coming to legislation near you. So hang with me. We do have things coming up on October 17th and 18th. This weekend, we had the Williams Park Alliance Classic Car Show, the Last Hurrah, which I'm thinking they mean, Last Hurrah is like, this is pretty much it. The weather is turning to crap. I mean, we started out with rain this morning. The afternoon, it was nice and sunny. It was beautiful. And by the time 5 o'clock rolled around, it was raining again. So we went from, crap to good to crap again. This is just Michigan. The end of October, November, this is just our lot in life. This is why we're such grouchy, cantankerous people. We put up with this all the time. But anyways, over the weekend, there was a nice car show on Saturday, October 17th and 18th. Anybody that had a car 25 years and older was invited to display their vehicles in the Etheldra May Williams Park. The Pylon Restoration Academy had been giving new life to classic vehicles for more than 30 years. Their credits include a 1941 Lincoln Continental convertible used by the Detroit Lions, a 1917 Ford Model T ambulance, a 1911 Ford Model T coupe built at the Ford Highland Park plant. And these vehicles were on display with others at the park. The Academy is looking for Detroit area students between the ages of 13 and 19 to take part in mentoring a class that will teach skills of automotive restoration. I personally do not have the patience for automotive restoration. I will fix a car. I know how to fix cars. I'm actually not too bad at fixing cars, but restoration takes almost an obsessive, compulsive attention to detail. I don't have that. Very few things in my life I get obsessive compulsive about. Even my music, a lot of times, I will try to learn something in strict detail and go, nah, it's too much worry, and I just make up my own part. That's just the way I am. Sorry. So God bless these people. If they find these people that will join this team and mentor and learn, because it is a dying art. Restoring vehicles like that, it's a dying art. So hopefully they had a good time. Hopefully the weather held off for them at the park. And, you got to love car shows. I'm a bit of a motorhead, and it kind of cracks me up that the car that they had on this article right in front of it was a 1978 Ford Mustang. One of the worst cars ever. That caught my attention. I was like, oh my gosh, why would they do that? They weren't completely 100% bad. My sister actually had a 78 Cobra 2, Mustang Cobra 2, and it was pretty bad. I mean, it was a cool car. It was 5 liter, and that thing would just get it. It was very fast, but they break down quite a bit. So yeah. Yeah, and Jeff in chat says he had a 76 Mustang. I mean, that model of car was just whoever designed and engineered that model of car should have just been flogged right off the bat, just beaten. I mean, that was the worst. Anyway, so we're heading into the election, and of course, as you all know, Gretch is in the front and center of all the news because she was going to be kidnapped. Well, Trump, and I wish Trump wouldn't do this. It's just like putting fuel on a fire. But Trump basically shot his mouth off and started a chant at his latest rally here in Michigan of people saying, lock her up, lock her up, lock her up. And of course, she goes on Twitter like the dunderhead she is. And let me back up a step. Okay, I went on record last week. I'll go on record again. I do not wish ill will on anyone. Okay? I'm sure Gretch is a fine person. I've never met her personally. I don't know. She acts like a spoiled brat and a tyrant, but that's between her and God, not me. But I don't wish harm on anybody. There's very few people on this planet that I wish, child abusers and wife beaters are 2 people that I wish harm on. And if you're not under that category, then, well, you got a little bit of leniency from me. So, these social outcasts, these morons who decided that, hey, we're going to attack Lansing. First of all, what were they thinking? I mean, it's good to set goals, but keep your goals realistic. It would have lasted probably about 5 minutes before they were all mowed down by the state police and the sheriffs. They might have gotten close to the Capitol building before they were mowed down, but who knows? But anyways, these social outcasts, these dunderheads, of course, the media jumps on them. And and already says, people who talk at theater, we wish ill will at people who talk at theater, especially when they yell at the screen during a horror flick. It is okay to loathe and despise them, right, Jeff? Anyways, where was I? If you're not in chat, Chat Lives Matter crew is going full blast. If you're listening to this live, get in chat, www.klrnradio.net/chat. Join the Chat Lives Matter crew. It's a full house and they're having a good time in there. And they're trying to distract me, which I'm distracted now. Anyways, these social outcasts decide to kidnap her. And with their assault PT cruiser, there's a video out there now of them practicing and they're in a PT cruiser. Not very militia-like, guys. That's why when the press came out and said, oh, they're militia. Okay. First of all, I know some people in Michigan militias. I know some people that are kind of out there and in gung-ho and oorah. And PT Cruiser is not the choice of militia members. I'm going to go on record to say that. I bet if we could do a poll, 9 out of 10 militia members would probably not recommend a Chrysler PT Cruiser to go on a raid with. Just throwing that out there. This shows you that these young men are basically, Jeff, it's okay you joined a PT Cruiser. I don't think you are going to invade your capital. So it's okay. It's all right, buddy. Jeff's in chat says he owned a PT Cruiser. Anyways, so she's out there, of course, playing the victim card in a big way. And anything Trump says is incendiary. Oh, he's causing this. Now, I was on the show last week, and I'll say it again. No, Trump's speech is not causing this, Governor Whitmer. And if for some reason you fall upon this podcast and you're listening, I'm saying this in all sincerity. You, with your incessant shutdown, your refusal to let the youth of this state get on with their lives, because we knew months ago that this virus attacks the infirmed, the elderly, people with pre-existing conditions, and everybody else gets it and it goes away. They get over it like any other flu. Yet you kept the entire state shut down, locked down, panic porn, just fear. Everything was just this mass panic in this state. What you did, Governor Whitmer, was you took people who have maybe minor mental problems, a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of paranoia, a little bit of schizophrenia or whatever diagnosis they have, bipolar disorder, whatever. And through your actions, you amplified these mental disorders 100 times over. Through what you were doing, it would have been much more sane, much more compassionate to just let this virus run its course with the youth who aren't going to die from it. The odds of the youth, the good, healthy young people, the odds of them dying from this are very, very, very slim. And we've known that for quite a while. However, you kept your tyrannical, spoiled brat thumb on this entire population. You decided to go it alone, so you cannot ever point your finger at anybody else except yourself. You caused the social outcast nut jobs who decided they were just going to attack Lansing because of your tyranny. And remember, they hated Trump as much as they hate you. They don't like him either. They don't like any government. And we had a whole program about this last week. You caused this, not Donald Trump. You solely caused this in this state. And it makes me wonder what's going on in the state of New York. New York, you get out, and it's so easy to, label Michigan as Detroit. Michigan's not Detroit. Detroit's a part of Michigan. And really, a lot of Detroit is not as bad as a lot of people make it out to be. There's some hot spots that need to be taken care of. They've cleaned up downtown. They're doing a great job. They're trying to turn it around, and God bless them. I hope they do it. I've never had a problem personally in Detroit. I've played all kinds of places, clubs, bars. I've played downtown at the W4 Hoedown several years in a row back in the day. Never had a problem. I've had more problems in Toledo, which I'm not too far from either. And it's just like taking New York and saying everything's New York City. You get away from New York City, you get into upstate New York, it's gorgeous. Absolutely phenomenal. I was just blown away the first time I drove through that. But places like that are also a haven for the militia types. And they're also havens for people who are intentional social outcasts who just want to go somewhere and be left alone. But I'm wondering if New York's going to go through the same thing. But they're taking this plot, and yes, they've arrested, 7 people now? 5 of them they're not going to let, they're holding them without bond, without bail. They're keeping them locked down. But anyways, it makes me wonder if, how many more people are going to start snapping like this. You can't keep a free nation locked down like a tyrant and not expect to have some people snap. And the longer this goes on, the more, and yes, I know the state Supreme Court, Michigan State Supreme Court, has finally wrested this tyrannical power away from Whitmer. She doesn't hold it anymore. And of course, she turned right around the very next day and she sent her minions in the Department of Health and Human Services out to almost mimic word for word her edicts of keeping everything locked down. The difference is they have no teeth. They might be able to fine your business or something like that. But if somebody walked up to me, I'm from the Department of Health and Human Services, where's your mask? I just push them over and keep walking. Sorry. We don't have the police force to enforce anything they're doing. So, and I think people know it. I really do think people know it. This whole week, I've been walking around, driving around, and even yesterday and today, everybody just seemed like they were in just a little bit better mood, a little bit lighter mood. They can feel the oppression starting to ease. So that's my Gretch rant for the day. I really don't want to talk much more about her because I really don't want to give her any more, blech. I do need to say one more thing about her. She vetoed a voter fraud bill this week. And this is from Detroit News. Governor Gretchen Whitmer, Gretch, vetoed bills that would have made it a felony to knowingly try to apply for multiple absentee ballots or to fill out an application for others without their consent. In other words, it would have stopped ballot harvesting. She basically, she vetoed that bill. And she used the excuse. So the Democratic governor said voter fraud, such as trying to vote more than once, is already a crime, and Republican-sponsored legislation would muddy the waters and likely confuse voters about what conduct is criminal. How is that confusing voters? In a letter to lawmakers Friday, she said it is impossible to get a second ballot without spoiling the first one and cautioned that people might submit multiple applications because of memory error. I doubt it. What she's trying to do is make it where her little minions can run around and fill out dead people's votes and stuff like that and not answer to it. So basically what I think the state legislature needs to do now is really get with, especially a lot of the red counties. And like I said before, Michigan's basically a red state with a couple of blue tumors. That keeps us from being, represented as a red state. What they need to do is get cooperating sheriffs and cooperating poll workers and make sure that there's only one person, one vote. And make sure those people are actually alive. That would be a bonus. And actually, citizens of the state of Michigan, that would even be more of a bonus. How about that? All right, enough of Gretch. Tired of her. Away from me, Gretch, you vile human. A little note of interest. There is a amateur group, and this interests me because, number one, I like the upper part of the state. I like the upper part of the lower peninsula and the upper peninsula. Just gorgeous, unrefined, beautiful area. And the Mackinac Bridge is just one of the coolest things in the world to see. Mackinac Island's one of the coolest things to kick around on. The history up in that area, and most people don't know the history of that area. It goes back to early colonial days. Fort Mackinac was probably one of the premier forts of that area. And they've been digging it up, and I've actually seen some of the things they pulled out of the dig and stuff like that. It's really cool. Well, anyways, a team of non-scientists may have inadvertently confirmed the most important finding in the Great Lakes archaeology in at least a decade. Now, this group is made up of mostly Native American tribal citizens, utilized a remote-operated underwater vehicle in the Straits of Mackinac to take a look at the Enbridge Line 5 oil and natural gas pipeline on the lake bottom, which we'll get more to that too, because there's some, and this is according to the Free Press. There's some legislation up for this area right here that's very important. But anyways, among the things they found were stones that they say appear to be arranged in circular and linear patterns on the lake floor. If that was done by the hands of human, it occurred when the Straits area was last above water near the end of the last ice age about 10,000 years ago. We didn't expect to find this. It was really just amazing, said Andrea Pierce, a 56-year-old Ypsilanti resident and citizen of the Little Traverse Bay Bands of Ottawa Indians, who was one of the 4 women who drove the project to inspire the Straits bottom. See, my question is, who knew they were there, she says. The finding seems to correlate with the University of Michigan archaeologists' 2009 discovery of similar stones formations under the water in Lake Huron near Alpena, also believed from an ancient ice era culture. That professor, John O'Shea, told state officials in February that a consultant hired by Enbridge to explore the area of its proposed Straits Tunnel pipeline project relayed to O'Shea that he had seen similar rock formations in the Straits before. So, you know, the Great Lakes up in there. And G. Rooster says, what's a Youper? Yeah, Youpers are people from the Upper Peninsula. They're Youpers. U-P, Yoop, Youpers. We are trolls. We live under the bridge. So we're trolls. That's Michigan technology for those of you, or Michigan terminology for those of you who don't know. Anyways, a lot of people don't know this, but you know, the Great Lakes have gone up and down, up and down. Where I'm at right now, where I'm broadcasting from, not just a half a mile from my house, they call it Ridge Road. There is a ridge. And I did a little research on it because it seems kind of crazy because, you know, it's so flat east of here. It's very flat. I can see all the way to the smokestacks of the power plant in Monroe. That's about 30 miles away, 27 miles away. But most people don't know it. But Lake Erie, or a lake that, you know, basically went into Lake Erie, the shoreline was a half a mile from my house. This all used to be underwater. Not only that, but there was a land bridge that connected Michigan to Canada somewhere around the Thumb area. They've seen stone, man-made stone. Basically, they called it a hunting funnel where ancient people took, big rocks and they'd line them up and then chase deer and just funnel them into a kill zone where they could be killed for meat. They found one of these land bridges that goes all the way across into Canada. It's underwater right now, but so, the Great Lakes, they go up and down. We know that now. So it's kind of cool that these amateur scientists went up there and they found these stones. Proves that, the Great Lakes probably might have been a river around Michigan or something like that. We don't know. But why they were there, and I'm going to get to this story before we go on break. The reason they were up there doing all this is the pipeline that goes under, the Straits of Mackinac, is basically, they're thinking it might be trouble in the long run, that they're afraid that there might be oil spills or things like that. And that would be a disaster. It definitely would. One of the problems that there is up there is big ships go through that area. And there's very strict, very hard regulations. And this is right up Straits of Mackinac, right up under where the Mackinac Bridge is and all that. There's very strict regulations for ships going through that area. Now, I got a thing here, October 15th, and this kind of just segued off into it. 2 bills were introduced this week in Lansing that would increase the legal penalties for large boat operators who don't pass cautiously through the Straits of Mackinac. House Bill 6307 is sponsored by Representative Rachel Hood, Democrat from Grand Rapids, and House Bill 6308 by Representative Sue Allor, a Republican from Wolverine. Now, these basically are bipartisan, and there's not very many people that don't agree with them. Well, let's put it out there. I mean, they do a lot of bipartisan work in Lansing. It's kind of amazing that they still do quite a bit of that. But Representative Youssef Rabi, Democrat from Ann Arbor, a co-sponsor on both bills, called them absolutely critical. And the bills, if the bills are passed, large boat operators who knowingly drop anchor or drag a chain, cable, or other equipment in the Straits of Mackinac would be held criminally liable. They could face a felony charge, serve up to 4 years in prison, and pay a fine of up to $10,000 and cover environmental cleanup costs. That's how serious these people are. The only people who are exempt from this law would be the tribal fishing boats protected by the 1836 Treaty of Washington. Now, piloting a large boat through the straits without special strait approval could also result in a felony, punishable up to 4 years and a $5,000 fine, or both. Now, House Bill 6307 would also require pipeline operators like Enbridge to mark their lines so large vessels can avoid them. It says, we do require that the pipeline operator buoy the line each year and make the investment in making sure that the buoys are operational, says Rep. Hood. An anchor strike in 2018 damaged electrical lines in Enbridge's Line 5. Last spring, the pipeline was dented by a dragging chain. A Coast Guard investigation found that Enbridge's own contracted vessels were likely responsible for the latest incident. So they're doing everything they can to protect the Great Lakes. And I'm all for that. I really am. And they're just going to make it stricter and stricter fines and prison sentences if you screw up our natural waterways. And, a lot of people don't realize that the Great Lakes are some of the largest freshwater lakes, not only in the nation, but, they're up there in the whole world. So it's kind of a neat thing. Well, we've already reached the bottom of the hour. When we come back, we're going to talk the election. And not only are we just going to talk the election, we are going to discuss the two proposals that are on the ballots, because I've heard question after question after question about what are these ballots? Should I vote yes? Should I vote no? Well, we're going to look into it when I come back. Don't go anywhere because, it might not be the most exciting thing to talk about, but I'm sure I'll make it that way because I'll screw it up. I just feel it. It's the way it goes. Stay tuned.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now. 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
And we're back. Welcome back. Circumspice, the right side of Michigan. I am your humble host, Alan Ray, in my humble Gadsden studios with my humble dog, Ava, sleeping behind me on the couch. I am surprised you can't hear her snoring. Chicks aren't supposed to snore, right? She does. It is definitely fall in Michigan. I've heard it's supposed to be a pretty mild winter, but it just seems like everything's just really collapsing early this year. Of course, we are heading into November. I mean, my wife and mine's 31st anniversary is coming up this week, and that's October 21st. And that usually means that we're just about to November. We just got over this wedding and, you know, planning the wedding and all the things that happen there, and we're heading headlong into the holidays. Oy. I'm thinking of just getting Valium for my wife. Is there still Valium on the black market? I don't know. Anyways, if it is a mild winter, I will continue to run. I am not going to be crazy and continue to run 13 miles every weekend and stuff like that. I'm going to scale it back to like 3 miles a couple times a week and 5-6 on Saturday or Sunday if weather permits. I promise I'm not going to go crazy. Which, you know, here I am. Anyways, let's get into the meat of this show. Michigan politics. First of all, I'm going to start out by saying Michigan court overturned a 2-week absentee ballot extension. And this is from, what is this from? NationalReview.com. A Michigan court ruled Friday that absentee ballots must be received by Election Day in order to be counted, overturning a lower court's 2-week extension that was hailed by Democrats in the key swing state. The state's appeals court said that absentee ballots must be received by 8 p.m. on November 3rd, ruling against a lower court's decision to allow votes to be counted up to 14 days after the election, as long as they are postmarked by November 2nd. Michigan Republican-controlled legislature bought the appeal after the ballot deadline was extended. To be sure, the pandemic has caused considerable change in our lives, but election officials have taken considerable steps to alleviate the potential effects by making no reason absent voting easier for the 2020 election. The three appellate judges wrote, "Gosh, my speech is breaking down," in a unanimous decision. And it was unanimous. So I don't know if they'll take this, if they'll take it to the next level, take it to the state Supreme Court. If they take it to the state Supreme Court, it'll get shot down. I guarantee you. They won't hear any of this. We, as a state, have been preaching for months that you can vote by mail. If you cannot take your vote, fill it out, put it in a mailbox, and send it in, that's not our fault. And if you can't do it in a timely fashion, that's not our fault either. And this has nothing to do with skin color, how much you make a year, if you're poor, if you're rich. You can be one of the lowest people on the food chain in the state of Michigan and still understand that you have until this day to mail it out and get it to where you're going. Republican, Democrat, it doesn't matter. What they want is to be able to say, we're losing big time on the Democrat side, and go out and ballot harvest a bunch of ballots and bring it up, go, oh, look, we just found 150,000, ballots in the back of this car. Oh, and look, they're all Democrats. Yeah. Let's see it happen. I know I'm not going to sit here and talk about the G word. Grudge! Guys in chat. Yep. I'm all over it. I think that's one of the reasons that these guys all get in chat on this show is because, They want to hear me rant about Gretch. And I do. I don't know what I'm going to do after she's gone. She's a one-termer. I'm going to make sure that she's a one-termer. I have never been a political activist. I guarantee you in 2022, I'm going to be a political activist. I am. I'm just going to get out there. You're going to see me like a crazy guy standing on a street corner with one of those bullhorns just going, you can't vote for this maniac to be our governor anymore. Please. Knock on people's doors at 1 a.m. Excuse me, do you have a moment to talk about our governor and how you should be voting her out? So I'll probably get shot in 2022, but that's okay. I've lived a good life. We have in the fine state of Michigan, 2 ballot proposals coming up. Proposal 20-1 and Proposal 20-2. I have seen people on social media, heard people asking about these 2 proposals, and I myself don't have much of a clue about them. So I did a little studying over the week, especially 20-1, which seems to be 20-1 seems to be more controversial than 20-2. So let's actually do 20-2 first. 20-2 to me seems cut and dry. And in fact, I think that one will breeze through in a heartbeat. I don't know of many people who would vote no on this. Proposal 2, Michigan Ballot Initiative announced Proposal 2. And I'm going to say vote yes on Proposal 2. Basically, it's a Michigan Ballot Proposal 2 search warrant for electronic data amendment. Michigan's Proposal 2. Now, this is coming out of the Reason Foundation. The Reason Foundation is a libertarian publication, and it's pretty decent. I mean, they look at a lot of things. They don't really give you should or shouldn't vote. They kind of just give you the pros and cons of everything. Well, this one says Michigan's Proposition 2 would require police to obtain a warrant to search electronic communications data, placing the information under constitutional protection from unreasonable search and seizure. Now, let me read that again. This should say it all. You really shouldn't have to discuss it after this. It says Michigan's Proposition 2 would require police to obtain a warrant to search electronic communication data, placing the information under constitutional protection from unreasonable search and seizure. I'm good with that. I seriously am. It means that, a cop just can't grab your cell phone and just take it in and have them forensic check it or your data and stuff like that without getting a warrant first. Now, this says the fiscal impact. I like how these guys break this down. Fiscal impact says there may be added costs for requesting, issuing, and executing more complicated technology warrants, but this would have an insignificant fiscal impact on Michigan. Proponents' arguments for It says, as digital technology has evolved, it has come to the home of our personal and private information, replacing paper documents stored in files, drawers, and safes. Supporters argue that the government should have to meet the same standards and processes for accessing our personal information in digital form as the Constitution set out for our information when it only existed in hard copy. Now, if you're one of these anti-Second Amendment people, you go, well, they didn't have computers when the Constitution was made. They didn't have machine guns when the Constitution was made. Well, that's, it still blankets that. Sorry. You lose again. Proponents say that as our lives are continually exposed to technology, it is imperative that digital communication privacy be enshrined in the Constitution. I tend to agree with that. Opponents are arguments against this bill. Well, there are no official or published arguments against Proposal 2. Various Michigan law enforcement officials have told the press that they either support or do not oppose the measure. So there's not really a lot. I mean, this one I think should breeze through. You just got to read a little bit into it and say, oh yeah. So the police actually have to get a warrant to search your personal information. Go figure. Constitutional rights. What a novel concept. I like it. I like it. Now, that was quick. That was easy. Then comes Michigan Proposal 1. This one gets a little muddy. So there's these funds, okay? And these funds, a lot of people don't know that we are a pretty oil-rich state. And these funds, basically from the oil and all that, the sale of them, they go into this, the money goes into this fund, and that's basically what keeps our forests, our parks. Michigan has some of the most beautiful state forests, state parks, things like that on the planet. And this is what funds them. And I have yet to think about this really. And let me just tell you what it is. Michigan Proposal 1 is use of state and local park funds. Currently, Michigan's Natural Resources Trust Fund, the NRTF, which provides grants to local governments for acquiring land for various related uses, and State Park Endowment Fund, the SPEF, which provides funding for the state park system, receives revenue from mineral, oil, and gas leases and royalties. State law directs various limitations on how that money is used. Michigan Proposal 1 would make the following changes to how those revenues can be spent. Changes to the Natural Resources Trust Fund, the NRTF. The first one would allow the NRTF to give grants for renovating and improving existing recreational facilities. It would require that a minimum of 25% of total grants go to improving existing or building new recreational facilities. Currently, only 25% of the grant funding can be spent on developing current facilities. So it could, the new proposal would say that 25% of total grants go to improving existing or building new recreational facilities. Also, it would remove the NRTF's cap of $500 million in principal and allow it to grow faster and have the potential for more funding for grants. Now, the State Park Endowment Fund changes would be as follows. This proposal would allow spending on the SPEF on parks operations and maintenance in addition to the existing funding of land acquisition and capital improvements. It would also require at least 20% of the expenditures go to capital improvements and would allow more funds to flow to NRTF once SPEF reaches its $800 million in principal. So in other words, basically what happens is, the NRTF has a $500 million principal, and what happens if the SPEF, once it reaches $800 million, which I think they're talking in 2030, it should reach that, anything left over goes into the NRTF $500 million cap. Now, let me give you the arguments. It says fiscal impact would not lead to any changes in state revenues, no taxes, nothing like that. This is basically shuffling around how we spend money that's already here. Now, proponents for the argument say that Proposal 1 would give the state more flexibility to build new recreational facilities and expand, improve, and run existing ones to provide more outdoor opportunities in communities statewide. while also conserving and protecting important natural lands. Currently, the SPF has no money for park operations and maintenance, and the NRTF is limited in its ability to spend on capital improvements. Proposal 1 would fix both of those problems, advocates say. These programs require no taxes, but put royalties from the extraction of natural resources to beneficial use. There's really no formal opposition to this measure. Now, what the discussion here is while Proposal 1 passed the state legislature with bipartisan support and has no formal oppositions, there's some concerns about expanding the missions of these state funds. Just like everything else that has to do with government and money, there's going to be scope creep. The NRTF cap is not lifted until the SPEF hits $800 million. So that SPEF has to hit $100 million before the cap on the NRTF gets lifted out of there. It's currently at $237 million and grows anywhere from $15 to $50 million a year. This means that the cap on the NRTF will likely not be lifted for at least a decade or more. However, the changes in the use of the funds go into effect immediately and could have a large impact, as there is some evidence that public park funds are in serious distress and falling far behind on maintenance improvement. Proposal 1 would lockbox revenues for parks programs, but may mean the dedicated funds never reach higher funding levels. So basically what would happen is you would still be dumping all of the money from, oil, mineral, natural gas revenues into these funds, but they're never, ever, ever going to reach the cap. So I'm torn. Being an outdoors person, being somebody that loves our state parks, being somebody who has used our state parks, well, just last week, the place I was fishing is dedicated as a state park. You have to, I every year get my state park sticker on my license tab. So I can go into any of them, I've already paid my ticket, and it's like $10. Really, if you're not doing that, shame on you. And that money does go to state parks. There's other sources of revenue for local parks and funds. But this basically reallocates a lot of money and messes around. My first impression is I don't really care for the way they're shifting things around. And apparently it's a lot more complex than what Reason Foundation is saying. There's some outs that they can use, general slush fund money, which basically means it's going to go to things you may not want it to go to. So I will probably vote no on this one. Personally, I may just vote no. Although I love the parks and recreations, we do have funding going to a lot of these parks. Fishing licenses, hunting licenses, ammunition sales. There's a lot of taxes that go into it. And really, quite honestly, maybe there needs to be better business sense in taking care of some of the parks that are running down, that don't have the money funneling into them, and taking a look at where that money goes and how it's being used before we get to this proposal and reshuffle all of these. In 10 years, maybe even less, if this money caps and we can start using, the interest on it and all that stuff, and we can still use the interest, but if this caps and both of them cap and we can start using the principal as well, in 10 years, we're going to just have this magnificent resource to fix our parks and recreation areas. If we start dwindling the principal on these funds down now, they're never going to reach a cap. And who knows where these things go. 10 years down the road, they might just be bankrupt. They might be broke. So I personally am going to vote no on this, just because the way it's set up right now, I'm kind of in agreement with. So there you have it. That's the two big proposals on the state government. Now, like I said, the best the best description I got for most of these was on that site that I was just on. Did I close out that window? What an idiot. Okay. Yeah, that was from reason.org. You can look at Voters Guide and Michigan Ballot Initiatives on reason.org if you want to go over these with a fine-tooth comb. Really good reporting on both of them. I'm impressed by that. I can understand what's going on. Speaking of understanding what's going on, guess what it's time for?
Bet you're going fishing all of the time. Baby going fishing too. Bet your life, your sweet wife gon' catch more fish than you. Many fish bites if you got good bait. Oh, here's a little tip that I would like to relate. With my pole mama and my line, I'm a-gone fishing. Yes, I'm gone fishing, and the baby gone fishing too. I went on down to my favorite fishing.
It's time for the Michigan Fishing Report. Thank you to the Michigan DNR for putting this out every week. Love those guys. In a nutshell, fishing sucked this week because the weather sucked. But there was a little bit of success. Lake Erie high winds and large waves have kept many anglers from getting out. Perch are being caught in 21 to 25 feet of water off Stony Point near buoys 1 and 2 in front of the Raisin River, which isn't too far from my house. Detroit River reports of limited number of anglers out jigging for walleye with limited success. So once the temperatures start dropping, the bites will improve. Of course, Lake St. Clair, weather sucked. Everybody stayed in. St. Clair River, walleye bites has slowed for shore anglers. They're seeing a few steelhead being caught. Port Sanilac, boat anglers are trolling spoons with lead core lines reported that they are doing well, catching steelhead, Atlantic salmon, and occasional lake trout in 40 to 60 feet of water in Saginaw Bay. There's not been a lot of fishing activity due to the wind. Wind has just been vicious this week. However, it looks like there has been inland, there's been some, the perch, some of the bass, stuff like that, still being caught. Southwest, Lower Peninsula, St. Joseph's. The windy weather's kept anglers from getting out. Pier anglers have not been having much luck at all. Same with St. Joseph's River, South Haven, Holland. It's just been nasty. The Grand Haven boat launch is still closed. So basically from the state line all the way up to Grand Haven, forget about it. Ain't happening. Sucky weather. Just hole up until the ice freezes everything over and we can go out ice fishing, guys, all right? You know, that's on my bucket list. I'm going to try to do a remote ice fishing show someday. Just on the ice. We'll see what happens. I just had that brilliant revelation. See, you guys are witnessing genius. Anyways, I don't know where it is, but... Grand River near Grand Rapids, coho, steelhead, and chinook numbers have been decreasing. Anglers are mainly using spawn spinners and thunder sticks and wet flies. Some anglers are catching panfish using redworms and crickets. Panfish are fun to catch. Muskegon, weather conditions prevented most boats from getting out. Same with just about everywhere. Northeast Lower Peninsula. Sheboygan River. There are 2 chutes open at the dam this week. Anglers have been catching some Chinook salmon, drifting skein or casting spoons. Mackinac City and St. Ignace and Burt Lake and Mullet Lake, no reports because everybody's staying hunkered down. Rogers City, anglers who have been able to get out on Lake Huron and Presque Isle or Rogers City have been doing well catching steelhead. Alpena, anglers are able to get out on the bay or Lake Huron have been doing well. Thunder Bay River, reports indicate that it's been a tough week as there have been plenty of fish, but the bites have been very slow. They're just suspending down there, and they don't even want to get out. So fishing's a two-way street, right? Anyways, Oscoda. Reports indicate that anglers trolling body baits and spoons have caught a few walleye and steelhead, Osable River, a few Chinook salmon, Atlantic salmon, steelhead, and pink salmon have been caught by anglers back trolling plugs, floating spawn, and casting spoons. Casting spoons sounds like something you would do to tell a fortune or something, doesn't it? Higgins Lake, anglers have reported good perch fishing with some nice keepers. Perch. Lake Michigan perch is just, oh my gosh, the bomb. Now I'm hungry again. Houghton Lake, crappie and walleye have been reported moving up into canals. Anglers using fathead minnows have reported some good catches. Tawas, some steelhead have been caught with a few limits while trolling spoons past buoy 2 and 50 feet of water. Agres, some perch have been caught off the dock access site. Northwest Lower Peninsula, Charlevoix. Overall effort was down this week. It has been windy, which has resulted in less fishing activity. Grand Traverse Bay, for the boats that could make it out of the winds, perch fishing was good in a few spots. Anglers were using minnows, wigglers, and waxworms. Salmon fishing on Boardman River and Platte Bay are down almost to nothing because, weather sucks. Manistee River, good salmon fishing was reported with steelhead starting to show up in the lower river. Now's the time. Pierre Marquette River, great place to fish. Love Pierre Marquette River. Salmon fishing has been good over the last week. Some steelheads are starting to show back up on the lower portion of the river. Now for the Yoopers, Upper Peninsula. Keweenaw Bay reports of slow fishing, a few boats out trolling, and a few catches of salmon. Marquette, Boat angler season is winding down, especially with windy weather, limiting angler of opportunities. If you don't know what it's like up in the Marquette area, just listen to the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald over and over again. That water gets really nasty this time of year. Little Bay to Knock, high winds reduced angler participation this week. Walleye anglers mostly fish the reefs in the Kipling area. Manistee River, shore salmon anglers reporting fair to good catches, fishing the rapids by the Bass Hole. Many Chinooks and dark colored now, and with the occasional pink salmon, coho and steelhead are being caught. River's full of walleye, so get up there. That's not for the faint of heart. The Upper Peninsula this time of year is starting to get a little crazy up there. Munising, boat angling season is winding down with very few people going out. Weather's been too windy, so forget about it. I guess there's been a few shore anglers using spoons and fishing with spawn, and there's been a few splakes getting caught and stuff. Drummond Island, lots of perch anglers have been fishing over the last week, and the warmer weather has caused the bites to taper off in Scott Bay and Maxton Bay. Anglers having the best success have been still fishing and jigging with worms and shiner minnows. See, that's what I was using last week when I was on an inland lake, as just worms jigging with a hot pink jig with a little silver flash, and they were just gobbling it up. God, it's great when the fishing is hot. Cedarville and Hessel anglers reported good numbers of Chinook salmon and a few good catchers at the Hessel Marina finger docks. Chinook are hitting on natural spawn and artificial spawn bags, jigging from 4 to 8 feet. And finally, the Carp River. Only a few reports this week from anglers who are bottom bouncing worms at the seawall without success. Sucky week. There are a few reports of anglers fishing the overpass bridge for pink salmon and coho salmon. However, fishing has been slow. And that has been the Michigan Fishing Report. And I'm Alan Ray. This has been CIRCUMSPICE, the right side of Michigan. They're all things Michigan from a conservative point of view. Yeah, we're in Bob and Doug McKenzie in the chat room now. Chat Lives Matter group in the chat room. Thank you for joining me. If you're listening to this after the show breaks, thank you. I hope you learned something from these proposals 1 and 2. Votes coming up. Get out there, vote. Let's get this country back up and going again. Start pushing back against these lockdowns and all the stupidity and the idiocracy going on. Coming up Friday night, we'll be the Hardcore Patriot again. Gosh, time flies. And join me next week for another edition of CIRCUMSPICE, the right side of or Michigan on the right. Oh, look at that. I can't even talk by the end of the show now. We will talk again soon. God bless you. Peace.